Hey there, it's meteorologist Jamie Singleton. We are live on Instagram, on Cable 12, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, all of the platforms here on Facebook as well. This weather update brought to you by Haven Strategies and Computers in Roanoke. And we're looking at a dangerous situation ongoing across the area. I wanted to kind of start off first showing you all of the advisories and alerts across the area. And here locally we do have two alerts. The first of which I'll talk about in just a second that may kind of grab your attention, but we do have a flood watch in effect for the entire area. That's pretty obvious at this point until noon on Friday. We also have numerous flash flood warnings that are in effect, and flood warnings are almost too much to count right now, so I'm not even displaying those. But we've got a flash flood warning, and this is actually a flash flood emergency that's in effect for Tazewell County. That is a very serious situation. That is in effect until, let's see if I can get that to pop up there. I believe it's 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m., okay, for Tazewell County. That's a flash flood emergency. The Clinch River there is going to crest at highest water levels they've seen since 1978. So in and around Richlands and Tazewell and bordering in the West Virginia there, it's a very serious situation. We also have a flash flood warning that's in effect for Patrick County. That includes, these are all being issued out of Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way, because there's a COM issue with Blacksburg. But Surry County, Wilkes County, Western Stokes County, also includes Yadkin County, Carroll County, Grayson County, and Patrick County until 6. Expecting the flooding to continue to get worse there as it continues to rain. We've got flash flood warnings in effect for Henry County, all of Southside Virginia pretty much, Danville, Southern Halifax County, as you make your way down into North Carolina as well. That includes, let's see, Rockingham, Caswell County, North Carolina, Henry County, Martinsville until 5:45. About 2 inches to 3 inches of rain now in this area, and you can also see lightning there on your screen. There are some stronger storms in the area. There are also tornado warnings that are in effect for a part of our area. We now have tornado warnings in effect, let's see, for southern Person County, northern Orange County, northwestern Durham County in North Carolina until 1:15, and that's right along this front. That's the edge of the wedge I was so concerned about. You can see to the north here, we're looking at cooler temperatures coming on in and from the northeast, and then that combines with the southerly flow out ahead of that. So in North Carolina now we do have new tornado warnings that are in effect that also are in effect west of Durham. Let me get on the screen here what I want to see. Alamance and northwestern Chatham counties, those warnings will expire at 1. Tornado warning for northeastern Randolph, southeastern Guilford counties has been canceled. Tornado warning remains in effect, however, until 1 o'clock for southern Alamance and northwestern Chatham counties. Looking at a possible tornado in that area. And there are more tornado warnings off to the south. A tornado watch is in effect in these red areas here for Henry County, Pittsylvania County, Halifax County, southward into North Carolina. The tornado watch is in effect until 5 o'clock this evening. It's a very, very busy weather day. I'm going to pop on the radar here for you so you can see what's going on. And I do want to mention that the rain is not letting up across southwest Virginia as it may look on the radar. And that is because the Blacksburg radar is unable to send data out because of a COM issue at the Blacksburg National Weather Service. So instead, I've been using surrounding radars, and this is we're gonna go into Raleigh right now and look at the radar here. I'm going to read you some of the storm reports as well, but we'll put this into motion, and you can see the line of storms. It's a line segment that we call it here, producing the tornado warning around the Hillsborough area in the North Carolina. And again, this possible tornado is moving off to the west-northwest. Let's see, moving east, I'm sorry, out of the west-northwest, west-southwest at 65 miles per hour. Move to an interior room in this area. That's going to pass to the south of Roxborough. But definitely in that area, just to the northwest of Durham, folks there need to be taking their precautions and taking this very seriously. You can see these very high velocity data here on the wind velocity here, and I don't see much of a hook, but there is a lot of wind, a lot of concentrated wind in that area. If you look at the correlation coefficient, there's a little bit of a lighter coloring there that may indicate some potential debris being lofted aloft, but in these situations where you have a lot of wind, you don't need to see much of a hook, and you may not see a bit of a hook with some of these storms, because it's a unique environment that we're in today in terms of having these in February, but we can get those storms, as you know, in this area this time of the year, and that's because of that 30-degree air, 39-degree air colliding with the very warm air off to the south. In and around the Charlotte area today, we've had numerous reports of tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes down around this area, trees down just about everywhere down here, or at least in the path, and there are certainly a lot of rain, a lot of severe weather reports. Now, getting back into our area as well, I don't want to disregard the flooding that's already occurring and continues to get worse across the area. The Raleigh radar picking up on a lot of orange and a lot of yellow here. Whenever you see that, that's moderate to heavy rain. I don't see this letting up anytime soon. In fact, it may continue for a good part of the afternoon going into the evening hours. At some point, we may see this break apart a little bit this afternoon and evening, but I want you to listen that this is not anywhere close to being done with. In fact, I anticipate we will see more rain develop out behind this as we go into the night tonight and into early Friday morning. That's why the National Weather Service has that flood watching effect to the area through noon on Friday. Okay, now I'm going to read some more. We've got a couple of mudslides reported in around Danville. I'm reading some of these reports here as they come in. We've got streets flooded in the Danville area as well. I believe the debris flow was on Memorial Drive near Primrose Place in Danville. And then as you get into Halifax, Poplar Creek is flooding Summit Drive near the intersection of Railroad Avenue. And of course, the river will be a concern in South Boston. I'm Halifax and South Boston, I'm pretty sure, as we go with time here, because we're looking at all that runoff continuing. But still some very heavy rain and thunder and lightning being picked up right now around, or at least the lightning is around the Halifax County area. We've heard the thunder here at the TV station in Franklin County on and off throughout the day today. And again, there will be more to follow. You can see all the flash flood warnings here highlighted in green as I zoom it all the way out here, all the way across North Carolina, and tornado warnings there in the red. And my radar software is picking up on what's called a tornado vortex signature, or at least some rotation here, just south of Timberlake in North Carolina, not in Virginia. But again, that's a situation I'm continuing to watch. Now I'm starting to see a little more of an indication of rotation there, at least on the radar. I'll continue to watch that situation very carefully. It looks like there could be some debris in the air there, so we'll wait and see if that's confirmed or not. At least a hint of it anyway. Now, going back to this Tazewell County situation, for Tazewell County, I have to pull up the radar out of Charleston, West Virginia, which has a bit of a spike in it where it doesn't pick up very well into Virginia, but that's all we got right now. Unfortunately, it looks like the rain may be letting up a little bit in this area. Let me go back to my composite. Yeah, it is. It's letting up a bit in the Tazewell County area. That's the good news, because these storms are starting to blossom, and what they're doing is they're eating a lot of that moisture up. So if I get rid of the satellite, and we'll go down to more of a regional view here, and I'll put all this into motion. You can see that as you get across far southwest Virginia, thank God, it's starting to die off a little bit now. But as I mentioned before, the main part of this system is still yet to come through here. So we may start to see some more rain filling back in as we get these storms that are causing the moisture to kind of be all concentrated in one area there near the Raleigh-Durham area. Those storms will eventually push off to the east, and we may start to see the moisture fill back in behind that, because again, if we widen the viewpoint out, and I'll put on the contours here, you've got a big trough here. It's still coming out of Dallas, Texas. So this has a long way to go before it stretches back across our area in the upper levels. And that's where it's picking up a lot of moisture, the storm system is. I'll put on the water vapor imagery, and you can see that trough it dips all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. If you were to widen your viewpoint out even more, you can see it actually connects with the subtropical jet stream down across the Pacific Ocean. So it's no surprise that we're seeing the moisture that we're seeing. And in fact, our moisture values are at about 400% of normal. Studies show that when you get those amounts of water in the air in conjunction with a big storm system, you will indeed see flooding. And that's what we're seeing across the area. A lot of roads washed out, and smaller streams and creeks are out of their banks. They'll continue to rise, but maybe a bit of a relief anyway as far as what's falling from the sky, although I can imagine the runoff will continue here in the Southwest Virginia. Lighter echoes here showing up from Bristol into Buchanan County and getting into Lee County there, and that's some good news. Wise County as well. But reading you this flash flood emergency that's in effect continues significant flooding ongoing. Shelters are opening in that area. You're getting the values of rain, or at least values of rain that are producing the flooding. But as far as the river going up, that's at the level potentially rising to 15 feet that it hasn't been seen since 1978. So a very, very dangerous situation in Tazewell County and in surrounding communities. Flash flooding is something you never want to get caught in, whether you're driving or you're walking on foot. It only takes about a foot of moving water to just knock your car, on down the stream, or lift it up and take it on down there, and you don't want to be in it. A lot of deaths occur in flash flooding. And also it only takes about 6 inches of moving water to knock you off your feet if you're walking. So that's something that we have to watch for the remainder of today. And again, it's going to be something we'll have to watch into the evening hours as well. These storms are bad news, and they're moving out of North Carolina now, moving through North Carolina in the Raleigh-Durham area right now. And I think the Virginia Beach area, Tidewater, now under a tornado watch. That also includes Mecklenburg County and South Hill. That's in effect now until 7 o'clock. So a new tornado watch has been issued farther to the east as this convective line segment continues to push off to the north and to the east. And as these storms continue to move that way, we'll see our severe thunderstorm warnings and our tornado warnings be pushed farther out that direction. However, behind this, again, we're looking at this moisture filling back in with time. So I want to get to a couple of things. The Weather Prediction Center today earlier put out a mesoscale precipitation discussion where they're very concerned for our area for the rainfall rates, all of the dynamics that we're seeing across the area. Everything's kind of combining to give us that flash flood potential and that high amount of flash flooding that we're continuing to see across the area. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm kind of in the office here, and we're kind of winging it because it's a developing situation. So I'm going to look at the very latest HER model, and this is a model that is a rapidly updating model. It updates every hour on the hour, and it's about halfway updated now. So we're going to look at this together and see what we have going on here. So it looks like as we go into the next, this is the 17Z run. 20Z is going to put it into the 2 or 3 o'clock time frame. So that's about right now. You can see that hole right there, but you can also see more rainfall filling back in. And I apologize, I've been watching my Instagram instead of my screen here. So let me do this. There we go. We'll move this around a little bit, and you can see that Roanoke right here. So let me put this in motion. And this is where the storms are right now as the model sees it. And then as we advance on through here, there's not a lot more rain forecast across West Virginia and the Tazewell County area. That's the good news. But you can see these embedded thunderstorms that the model's picking up on. And then you notice a bit of a leaf here gets going, another leaf of moisture. That's what we call it here out across North Carolina. This is tonight at 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock tonight, it's still raining out there. And in fact, we may start to see the rain intensify once again overnight tonight. I'm going to go to a previous hour's model run from just a couple of hours ago. It's going to be very similar, but I do that so it'll go back in time or go back out in time farther. And you can see that as we go through the night tonight, there's that second leaf of moisture moving through the area between 7 p.m. and at least 10 o'clock tonight. It looks like maybe by midnight or so, it does start to clear the area. But this is only until, midnight tonight. So for the next 10 to 11 hours, it's going to continue raining for the next 10 to 11 hours. And that is the bad news. And hearing more thunder outside the station as I say that. Now behind that, there'll be a bit of a dry slot, but the rain won't be over with. In fact, there will be more sporadic showers and even heavier showers that may develop prior to sunrise on Friday, tomorrow morning. The low is still way off to the west, so that's a lot of rainfall still yet to come. And if I put the precipitation forecast totals up here for you, this takes us now, including what we've already had. So you got to remember, a lot of places already have 2 to 4 inches of rain outside. We're sitting at about 2.3 right now in the Redwood area in Franklin County. But I know a lot of you are closer to that 4-inch mark, and maybe more than that, maybe close to 5 in some areas. I put this in the motion here, the model indicating that another inch to 2 inches, maybe up to 3 inches on top of what we already have. So some of these precipitation totals are going to end up being closer to 6 to 7 inches. And pretty much if there's a low spot out there, it's flooding already. So that's the bad news. Now, if we look at this aloft, it kind of gives me a better idea of what's going on here. I'm going to look at the relative humidity at about 10,000 feet. So we're looking at 700 millibars here. And let me turn this back around this way. I'll go back into a better viewpoint without it snapping back. So Virginia right here, and we'll put this in motion. The dry slot doesn't get in here really until midnight tonight, as I mentioned, in white. That's the more humid air, the drier air into the darker colors. And you can see even more energy or more relative humidity filling back in toward Friday morning. So we'll still have some waves here. And pardon me as I kind of cycle through some of this stuff. I'm looking at this newer model data still coming in. Big, deep trough, and there's the heart of it right now. On our forecast model, as we take it out to 10 p.m. tonight, you can see it there across the Gulf Coast states, moving across Memphis, Tennessee. That doesn't get involved into our weather picture until tomorrow morning at about 8. So really, until this moves through, we'll continue to see these rounds of very heavy rain move across the area. I'm going to switch the viewpoint here a little bit more. We'll go in a little tighter. Again, this is off the NAM model. If you're a fellow weather enthusiast and you're watching this with me here, we'll put the dew point temperature on, and with these values getting to the blue, that's very high amounts of moisture. That is what the storm system is working with. That's what it's giving us. And where you see the red arrows, that's the direction the wind is blowing. The longer the arrow, it's kind of a vector basically, and it shows us that there's a lot of wind upstairs as well. And that's what's producing these tornado warnings and even straight line wind damage reports from some of these storms that are forming off to our south in the unstable air. But we're in the more stable air across Virginia. That said, areas near North Carolina are in that tornado watch until 5 p.m. as the edge of whatever wedge we have, which we still do have it, may erode later on today. But the good news is the convective line is going to eat up a lot of that energy as it pushes east toward tidewater. But right there between Raleigh and the Virginia Beach area, it's a very stormy go and a dangerous go of it as tornado watches and warnings are out right now. I see here a lot of moisture still pushing in. It looks like it thins out a little bit later on in next, let's see, as we go to 7 p.m. So over the next 5 or 6 hours, it may thin out a little bit. It tries to come on back in terms of producing rainfall. The precipitable water values do go down some. That's the good news. That means our downpours may not be quite as intense later on tonight, but it's still going to be raining out there, okay? So that's what I need you to keep in mind. Now we'll go back out to the radar picture and again see if any watches or warnings have been issued by the National Weather Service. Again, we hope our Blacksburg radar in office comes back online here so we can bring you a little bit better information. But we're all in the same boat across the meteorological community. Without that office being able to send out anything, they're doing it out of the Raleigh, North Carolina forecast office. Very strong storms continuing across North Carolina. Again, it's a big area here of just moderate to heavy rainfall. You can see these lightning strikes showing up. These are positive flashes of lightning. Basically, they come from the top of a cloud when you see that, and it's typical of around thunderstorm activity, but just kind of going back and forth here from Danville into Martinsville and Franklin County. A lot of the rainfall from Lynchburg and the Farmville continues as well, and then you can see it there across the far southwest part of the area. This is difficult to discern because there's also a radar hole here because Blacksburg's radar isn't sending out anything, able to send it out to the world anyway. I feel like the radar is still there, sending information. It's just not getting out. But you can see the rainfall continues out across West Virginia there as well. So really, it's probably more like this is the line of clearing rather than the line here. But in no way, shape, or form are we anywhere close to finished with the rainfall. So if you see it on the radar on your app, and maybe it looks like the back edge of the rain's coming through and you don't understand why it hasn't stopped, that's why. There's a significant radar, or not even just a radar outage, there's a communication outage right now coming out of the Blacksburg office. Good news is the tornado warnings are no longer in effect in North Carolina, but now a huge severe thunderstorm warning has been issued here for Person County, Orange County, Granville County, northwestern Wake County, and Durham County in North Carolina until 1:45. More than likely, these are straight line winds as they push east across the area. You can see that. So for my southern viewers there in the North Carolina, you can see that's where the severe thunderstorm warning's in effect. Still stay away from windows. Treat this as you would a tornado warning because this front means there's a lot of spin on it. It inherently has a lot of spin on it in situations like this. And we have a tremendous amount of wind energy in the atmosphere. If you go up just a few thousand feet, the winds are howling. And that can be brought down to the ground in either a circulatory fashion or a straight line fashion. And sometimes those straight line winds can be just as impressive as tornadic winds. So take that very seriously. And in Goldston as well, another severe thunderstorm warning down across North Carolina, and they're cleaning up from a probable tornado in and around the Charlotte area. The Raleigh radar is only out to maybe Floyd County, and then it starts to fizzle away as far as its beam strength can go, or really the beam continues. It's the curvature of the earth that keeps us from seeing that far. But you can see how it continues raining very hard out across Boones Mill and Roanoke and Bedford as well. Put this into motion, give you an idea of what's going on. And again, you can see these rounds of rain just keep on falling across the area. And I watch the rain gauge just as you do, going up with every update there. So that's the way the Raleigh radar looks. I'm going to send you over now to the bigger picture here, and I'm going to read some of these reports here coming out of, we'll put this back up actually, out of West Virginia, McDowell County, West Virginia, to be more specific. There's lots of road closures there. This is just north of where the flash flood emergency is in effect for Tazewell County. Just numerous road closures is what I'm seeing now. Water beginning to affect homes in McDowell County, and that was at 10 o'clock. So this has been some time now. The flooding there has to be very bad. Numerous streets are flooded in town. Water levels rising rapidly in Tazewell County. Let's look at that river and look at some of these other tributaries and waterways throughout the area. I'm going to go to the National Weather Service website so you can see where I'm getting my information. We'll go to rivers and lakes. And there's a map here that we'll be updating here. And all that scanner chatter in the background is for me to hear some of the kind of listening in the background at the same time to some of these reports. A lot of times the local fire folks, they're the folks out there in this, and they're the first to report to us in the media what's going on out there. They're keeping their eye on the creeks and streams and rivers out there, and that's what's going on. I don't know if I can get this to update or not. There we go. I was getting a little bit worried there. So this is the Clinch River gauge. And wow, that's going up really fast. This is the Clinch River at Richlands. It's past moderate stages at 12.57 feet. Expected to crest just 1 foot below major stage. Major stage would be at 16 feet. So you can see how that's begun to rise. It began to rise slowly yesterday when the rain started. But then as we went into the morning hours, late morning hours, and now into the early afternoon, it's taken off like a rocket. And that's not good news for people living along its banks there in the Tazewell County. Some of these other waterways here, the East River in West Virginia is also rising very fast. It's past minor stage now. That's at Williston in West Virginia. But we're going to look here a little closer in here. This is Peak Creek at Pulaski. That is near flood stage. Flood stage, the action stage has been passed, and flood stage would be at 8 feet. It's at 7.8 feet now. Looks like it may have slowed down rising there. As I mentioned, the rainfall is not quite as heavy. So that's some good news. And maybe give some time for this to run off. In Franklin County, the Blackwater River, showing, this is nowhere near what's going on in far southwest Virginia. The ground was a little drier out to the east today. But it's at about 4 feet, 3.88 feet. It is rising. So there's definitely some high water to be sure. Just checking out the Roanoke River. Let's see. Let's go to the Roanoke location. It's forecast to get up to 8.6 feet. Flood stage would be at 10 feet. Right now it's at 3.1 feet. But that crest is not going to happen until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now it can go either way depending on what the rainfall does into the evening. These river forecasts can sometimes be very, very tricky. What I want to do right now also is look at some of the eye flow gauges across the area. And if you can leave me, if it's safe to do so, some of your reports as far as how much rain you have since yesterday, go ahead and do so on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. And I can get that information out there as well, because we really don't have a radar estimate of what's going on because of no radar information available to the area via that comm outage that we've got coming out of Blacksburg. So I'm going to go right now and see. This should be my... trying to get to my iFlow centers here. I'm going to go to Blacksburg area. And this site can be kind of quirky sometimes. So we're going to see if we can't get it to load here. You see all these red dots? That is where rainfall gauges are above or at 90% of flash flood guidance. So there's an amount of water that we can handle in a certain amount of time. And when we exceed that, that's when the National Weather Service puts out flash flood warnings. So with those, I see 3 gauges in Roanoke County, that are red. And that would indicate that maybe there might be a flash flood warning coming out soon for the Roanoke area. Let me make sure there isn't one. Not yet. But I think Franklin County, Bedford County, and going into Lynchburg in this area is going to probably see a flash flood warning at some point today, the way things are going. So let's go in the Roanoke County right now and check out what's happening as far as rainfall is concerned. And there are those gauges. So that's at 1.56. Some of these are going to be kind of low. That can happen sometimes too. 1.56 there. These are tipping gauges. 1.6 here. Again, it's closer to 2.6 in a lot of locations. Look out across maybe Floyd County, and I can show you. I think I can go county by county. There's somewhere I can look at every location. Yeah, maybe not. I was trying to get the actual county list there to pop up. Oh, here we go. It's back beyond here. So I'm looking at rainfall amounts, just kind of seeing what I have out there. Fort Lewis Mountain 1.32, 1.6, 1.56. I switch counties here. One, the Tazewell County where they're having all the problems, or even Giles County where they're having a lot of these problems. Butte Mountain here, 2.72, so it's closer to 3 inches. And in the wintertime too, the ground, if you've had some cold temperatures, will be more frozen or at least more solid, and it's unable to absorb some of the rainfall that's occurring. Also, you don't have the vegetation, so everything falls right through the where the leaves on the trees would be, and the brush would have and be in a vegetative state. You don't have that this time of the year, so a lot of that just runs right off. But between 2 and 3 inches of rain, as indicated by eye flows there, into Giles County, Virginia. Looking at, I want to check out Tazewell County here and see what's going on there. If these are picking up any crazy amounts of rain. 2.12. What's amazed me is that these gauges are only indicating about 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, but we are seeing just tremendous amount of water problems out there. So to repeat, that flash flood emergency is in effect for Tazewell County until 7:30 tonight, and you've got more flash flood warnings out for a good part of southern Virginia, and that may be extended. Again, these may be extended north throughout the day today, or they're not really extended, they're just issued for other areas. Put this in motion, you can almost kind of pick out the area of low pressure in the radar. That's wherever you see kind of a leafy pattern coming off the top of the rain and extending out from it, that's an area of low pressure that kind of is a small area of low pressure, but it always enhances rainfall and enhances severe storms off to the south of it. But with the front kind of stalled across the area, we'll continue to see areas. Here's a new one coming out of North Carolina, just as I say that. So notice here at the end of this loop, you start to see more lightning activity in and around Greensboro area. This is a new area of heavy rain. From Martinsville to Wentworth down through Greensboro, it's storming again, and the heavier rain from that will continue to move northeast. We tend to look at a drier trend here, at least, going into northwest North Carolina, but it's very hard to dictate by which the radar in Blacksburg not sending out any information. Winds are gusting to 35 miles per hour near White Top Mountain in Grayson County. So there's a lot of wind out there with with the system in its entirety. And again, if you look at it on a broader scale, you can see that this is a big leaf of moisture, and within it we've got these ripples of energy that continue. So it will continue to be very active out there for the afternoon and evening. Things may wind down here over the next couple of hours. By the time we go into mid-afternoon, there may be a lull or two. Hopefully that will last a little longer than just, a temporary lull, because we do need some time for the ground to do its thing and absorb some of this rainfall if it can, and some of it to run off if it can. And then what we'll see probably will be some more rain moving in later on tonight. I was looking at the model a second ago. I wanted to look at the high-res NAM to see if it has the same kind of feature there to me about that rainfall redeveloping. Sometimes these models will be a little different from one another. Let's see, I'm trying to get the initialization time here, 1 p.m. Would put it about here, that would be 2. Model's not doing a very good job of picking up the thunderstorms. I think it's a little behind, so I'm going to fast forward it to, looks like it's about right here, right now. So if we put this in motion, you can still see that rainfall continues right on through midnight. That's 5, 6 o'clock, or 5, 6Z. That's about 1 in the morning. Now at 1 to 2 in the morning, this is a higher res model. You've got additional heavy showers that are popping up even late tonight through southwest Virginia into West Virginia. So this doesn't look good at all. That would tell me that it's going to rain hard again overnight tonight, even late tonight. That's another danger of flash flooding, is that at night, and with ordinary flooding, it's hard to see any water at all when it gets up really high. So you want to be very, very mindful of that. Never drive across those barricades. Now by 5 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, this is what it looks like on our model here. You're looking at more heavier rain across the entire area. This all back here will be snow and snow showers. So some folks, yes, will be dealing in Tazewell County with flood cleanup. At the same time, it may be snowing outside as that snow wraps around and snow squalls come into the mountains of the New River Valley. That line or two, or a cluster of or a brief shower in the morning tomorrow will aid in helping the water even go higher in some of the area rivers. And then I'll also sponsor some high winds on the back edge of this, as we see gusts in excess of 30, 35 miles per hour. With this system, luckily, a lot of that wind energy is on the front edge of the system and not behind it like we a lot of times see. And that means that, yes, it will be very windy at times Friday into Friday evening, but it won't be quite as strong as maybe what you're used to with a very, very strong storm. But maybe wind advisories will come up anyway because of the soggy ground. It's always a consideration. They'll adjust the criteria, and they will issue National Weather Service as wind advisories behind these systems in a situation like that. See if I can refresh my lightning, make sure that is refreshing here. Just 1 second. I need to go to Place File Manager, refresh everything. Still just a lot of lightning out there across North Carolina. Some of that's bleeding into southwestern Virginia. Even though the radar's down in Blacksburg, I am seeing some breaks in the precipitation across West Virginia, and that's a good sign. Again, that's a sign of a lot of the storminess taking away some of the moisture. So all this activity that you see out here around the Emporia area, north of Raleigh, I-85, this area, this is where the severe threat is right now. And then if you go farther off to the west, because we have all that moisture being focused and these convective lines down here, and there's a new warning out right now as I type that, just north of Raleigh, North Carolina, up to the Virginia state line, just southwest of Emporia. Because of the storms focusing that moisture, it's torn apart some of the curtain of rainfall, if you will, that's enveloped most of the area all day today. And that may, again, give you a bit of a break, and enough time for some of this to run off and get out and out of here before more rain fills back in. I've seen this happen before where it shuts the rain off completely. That would be good news for the area. Just prior to this event, we had brush fires occurring, and now we're seeing what we're seeing out there in terms of the flooding. But I doubt that's going to happen given the fact that the upper level system is still down into Dallas, Texas. Now, the front's out well ahead of it, but these lows will continue to come out of the Gulf of Mexico along this front off to the west. Anytime you have two boundaries colliding, or even three boundaries colliding, you've got one there with the storms, another down here off to the west, and you've got the wedge that's here across northwest North Carolina going into north central North Carolina. That's when you have the danger for tornadoes. I don't think at this point Virginia, with the exception of the Virginia Beach area and Hampton Roads and Chesapeake, I don't see our area now getting the severe weather I was thinking may happen earlier. However, if we were to see the southerly flow push this wedge far enough north with time tonight, that may change. So I will keep an eye on that for you. But it looks like this one low that moved through and brought all that convection and storminess to the area may be pushing off a little bit farther to the east sooner than the models had advertised, and that has taken away a lot of the energy, the instability. You can have a lot of wind energy, but unless you have instability, at least some instability to get the storms going, you're not going to see much out there in terms of any severe weather. But there's a lot of wind in here as well, so it does not take a whole lot. And indeed, there will probably be more watches and warnings in regards to straight line wind damage and possible tornadoes into the Virginia Beach, Elizabeth City, Greenville, North Carolina, going down to even the Outer Banks area, down to Wilmington and Auburn area later on today. For us, again, it's just a matter of watching all this rain kind of push in from the south and from the west. Here it is in motion. And again, it's hard to even get this to move across the area. In fact, the area of moisture really hasn't changed that much over the past couple of hours. What's happened is, again, those storms have pushed a lot of this out. So, or focused the moisture, I guess, is what I mean to say. Let me put my telestrator on here. And I usually do get confused when I use the telestrator, so bear with me. So you've got this area of moisture, but right here you've got the thunderstorms. What that's doing is it's eating away at this part of the rainfall. The radar is also down in this area, but even in Charleston and northwest Tennessee, where there are radars, you are seeing a little bit in the way of that letting up. What will happen later on, though, is you are going to see additional rounds of rain coming in from the south and even from the southeast. And as each low forms, it'll draw in moisture up against the Blue Ridge mountains. And so I expect rainfall to be another problem again as we go into the night tonight. And that's why you do have those the flood watch in effect for the area until noon on Friday. So I'm going to clear this off. I tried to clear it a second ago and it wouldn't let me. We'll go back to the GR Earth here, and you can see again all the different flash flood warnings that are in effect for the area. Watching it very carefully for you. South side and to far southwest Virginia is particularly hard hit. The ground was a little drier here today. Starting this rainfall event across out of the mountains, once you got east of the mountains, it was a bit drier, so we didn't have quite as much in the way of a concern at first, but now things are at the point where any additional rainfall is surely going to cause even more flooding out there. I will have more updates, more posts on my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram feeds. Keep an eye on Cable 12 as well for some more updates there on the television side.